Hey everybody, welcome to Did You Hear About This? I'm Bill.
I'm Scott.
What's going on? I'm already checked out on vacation. I'm leaving tomorrow.
That's right.
Going to Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras down in New Orleans.
I'm going to live like Joe Francis.
It's Joe Francis.
The guy with Girls Gone Wild videotapes. Remember that
we
guy?
We talked about him.
That creepo.
The guy with Girls Gone Wild videos and many illegal problems.
Yeah. I'm trying not to have the legal problems down there.
Well, lawyers, guns, and money, as Warren Zevon said.
I'm doing it like a 50-year-old. I'll be in bed by 9 p.m. every night.
You already packed your liquid IV.
I do have my liquid IV ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah. This will be a different episode in that we're going old school.
We miss talking about the geeky stuff. The retro geeky nerdy stuff.
Yeah, for everybody out there that doesn't give a shit about headless chickens and deaths by amusement park or acoustic kitties, this is the episode for you because we're going back to talk about Star Wars and news stories and really just kind of phoning it in.
I was going to say, you sure didn't care about fast food meals that failed.
That went over like bubblegum flavored broccoli.
Chase is here with us again. You like being on the show?
Yeah.
Well, how come you're not promoted? We had the worst episode ever.
It's not my fault.
No, it's not your fault. It's just the nature of the game, sir.
True story, Chase can't even listen to the show because his YouTube is blocked because we have vulgar potty mouths.
Oh, you getting a bad mouth?
He didn't get to hear the show until the drive down here.
What did you do, curse in front of your parents?
No. His access on YouTube is blocked because of, like, the parental rights. And because our show is explicit, he can't listen to it on his phone on YouTube.
Oh, I didn't know. Is that when you go to YouTube, you can get like the kids section or regular?
I guess so, yeah.
So he just has to figure out your password to the adult section.
I guess, but he didn't get to hear last week's episode until we got in the car to drive down here.
Did you laugh?
I didn't really hear much.
It was a 30-minute drive.
Yeah.
We're a 40-minute show.
Well, I drove fast, so it was only about a 17-minute listen.
We're not even a hit with the kids.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, today we're going to talk about Star Wars. There's some breaking news in the Star Wars world.
Yeah, we're talking Star Wars, and we're going to keep this darkness train going. We're going to talk a little bit about some celebrity deaths again, too, going back to our grassroots.
Yeah, I know. We used to love talking about dead celebrities.
Dead celebrities and Star Wars is pretty much where we got our start here.
Well, let's kick off with that. Why not?
Yeah, this is a weird story, huh? You want to cover it?
So, Gene Hackman, and I guess they haven't figured out how he died yet, but Gene Hackman, the great Gene Hackman, who I've always seen since being a kid, but he retired in 2004.
Welcome to Mooseport.
That was his last movie, and we haven't seen him since. Like, he's one of those rare celebrities that just said, I'm done. You'll never see me again. I can only think of like Sean Connery being the other. I know there's others, but
yeah,
most stick around for a very long time until Hollywood kicks him out. This guy just decided, I'm done.
Yeah, he had a younger wife. She was a classical pianist.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong. It's not a news story that a 95-year-old man died. But the fact that he was found dead in his home, his wife was also dead, and their dog was also dead, but then the story says no foul play is suspected, that's odd.
So right away you think gas leak or something like that.
I thought gas leak. I've heard suggestions of carbon monoxide or like a heater malfunction or something like that, but I don't know.
I mean, what else could it be?
Right?
Because the wife, I think, was like 65.
63, I think it said.
63, and he was 95.
95, right. Which, again, not a surprise that a 95-year-old man died. But I also heard that they were dead for quite some time. The bodies were found, like, partially mummified.
Gross.
Yeah.
That's the worst. That's my fear. I'm so afraid that somebody's going to find me like 2 years after I died.
With your pants around your ankles on the toilet?
Oh, my God. You just amplified my fears. Go out like Elvis. Oh.
I'd rather be found, like, when I hear mummified, I think at least dry. At least you're not, like, goopy.
Oh.
Yeah, right?
The darkest episode yet, ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, it does, mummified does give a certain imagery that's better than alternatives.
Yeah, well, I guess. I guess anything is better than a droopy death.
But yeah, that was pretty wild. And, of course, hearing the news, it did get me looking at his discography or his filmography. And I forgot about some of the good stuff he was in, man.
I really only know him from Superman and a couple periphery things, but I knew he was a big deal. But I know in the 70s he was a very big deal, but I just wasn't aware of his 70s stuff.
Yeah, he was the guy from The French Connection.
Yeah.
Who, fun fact, to go back to fast food restaurants from last week, Popeye's Chicken. Popeye's Chicken is named after his character from The French Connection.
Popeye?
Yeah.
I thought it was named after the Sailor Man.
I thought so too, but not the case.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
Did you hear about that?
I didn't hear about that.
You did not hear about that. So here we are still teaching you things even while talking about pop culture.
That's great.
Yeah.
Look at us.
Yeah, so there were certainly the classic movies he became famous for, like in the 70s and 80s. It was actually some of the newer stuff I forgot that he was in. Like, he was the dad in the Royal Tenenbaums.
Right. I remember that.
Yeah, and he was, of course, the submarine captain in Crimson Tide with him and Denzel Washington.
Never saw that
Oh,
one.
so good.
Yeah.
So good. If you're going to look at a submarine movie, in my opinion, that's the best one you can pick. Even better than Hunt for Red October.
I was just going to say, that was one of those cases. And when I think about this scenario, I never think of that. Like, you get Dante's Peak, then you get Volcano.
Yeah.
You get Armageddon, then you get Deep Impact, whatever it's called. Yeah, we had 2 submarine movies in a row.
We did.
I forgot all about that.
Yep.
I know he was in The Birdcage. I thought he was good
That's
in
right.
that.
He was the dad in the Birdcage.
He was really funny in
The
that.
dad of the fiance, the wife.
But he's the kind of guy
He was a
that
senator, state senator, I think, right? A very straight-laced conservative straight. That's why they had to act like they were straight.
Right. Yeah,
Dude,
right.
Nathan Lane and Robin Williams were so good in that movie.
Yeah, they were in Miami Beach. Oh, that was a good movie. But he's the kind of guy, like, you look at him and you just assume he's a dick in real life. Like, he just has that, like, bite your head off if you look at me wrong kind of attitude. That's totally probably him just looking the way he looks and I'm projecting onto him. But he always had that tough guy, that mean guy sort of persona to me.
Remember The Replacements with Keanu Reeves?
No.
It was almost like Invincible.
The football movie? I do kind of remember that.
Yeah, where the professional football players went on strike, so they brought in The Replacements.
Oh, yeah?
He was the football coach.
I never saw that one.
Yeah, Gene Hackman was in that.
Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.
The Quest for
How
Peace.
the hell they talked him into being in that, I have no idea. That's the canon guys. They talked him into it.
Yeah, those were the big ones for me. Of course, I do know I know of the French Connection, but I can't sit here and say I honestly know the French Connection,
Well, I can tell you, thanks to Google, 10 interesting things about Gene Hackman if you would like to learn something. Would you like to learn something about Gene Hackman, Chase? Chase just went, who the fuck? I don't know Gene Hackman.
I don't know who that is.
Well, it's not going to be hard to impress you with some fun facts. I know he faked his age to get into the U.S. Marines at age 15.
Yes, sir, you were right. He was in the Marine Corps. Before becoming an actor, Hackman joined the U.S. Marine Corps at 16 by lying about his age. He served as a radio operator in China during the late 1940s.
Yeah, he was a DJ. He was almost like Robin Williams. Another Robin Williams reference in this episode. He was like Good Morning Vietnam.
So when it said radio operator, I didn't think he was a disc jockey.
No, he was actually a disc jockey for U.S. soldiers.
Whoa.
Yeah.
All right.
Pretty wild. I just read something incredible here on the filmography. Do you remember he played the blind man in Young Frankenstein? Yeah, he was the blind man that Peter Boyle ran into while playing Frankenstein's monster.
I totally don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't think I ever knew it was Gene Hackman.
Did you know he didn't start working until his mid-30s? That's late for an actor.
Yeah, it is. He was very much an uncommon leading man,
I like this one. He was once voted least likely to succeed by his classmates at the Pasadena Playhouse, where he did work along with Dustin Hoffman.
That's funny they came up together.
I wonder if Dustin Hoffman was voted least likely to do something. What an insult. You're least likely to succeed. The Pasadena Playhouse. You're the worst actor of all of us. We're all going to be more famous than you, Gene Hackman.
Oh, you stink!
You hack. Man, you're a hack. Oscar wins. Hackman won 2 Academy Awards. Best Actor for The French Connection, like you just mentioned, in 1971. And Best Supporting Actor for, I forgot this, Unforgiven. He was in that.
Oh, that's right. He was a sheriff, right?
I think, yeah. I remember he was in it. I don't remember the movie at all. Clint Eastwood was in it or directed it.
Yes.
Yeah. Barely remember that
Maybe
movie.
both.
Got here Lex Luthor legacy. He played Lex Luthor in Superman films 1978, 1980, and 1987.
Oh, he was in 3 of them? I thought he was in like 2 and 4. I didn't realize he did 3 as well. Or was it 1?
1, 2, and 4.
1, 2, and 4, he didn't do 3.
Right.
Okay.
It says here famous retirement. Hackman retired from acting in 2004. We just talked about that with Welcome to Mooseport being his final film. Do you know he was an author of historical fiction? He has written several historical fiction novels, including Escape from Andersonville and Payback at Morning Peak. So he fancied himself an author.
Were these just novels, or these weren't like screenplays or anything, right?
No, not that I know of.
Okay.
Still floating around Hollywood.
He's still trying to pass that script.
Turned down some iconic roles, including McMurphy from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Brody from Jaws. He turned that down. Oh, that you got to kick yourself for that.
Dude, Roy Schneider became like a huge star because of that. You know what, though? I couldn't have seen Gene Hackman and the guy that played Quinn being on the same boat. That wouldn't have been good.
Gene Hackman looks a little like Richard Dreyfuss. That wouldn't have worked either.
Yeah, I'm glad. It's all I know, but I think I'm glad the way Jaws turned out.
Evidently, he was up for Hannibal
Robert
Lecter.
Shaw. The guy from Jaws. Robert Shaw is the guy from Jaws. I just thought of it.
Silence of the Lambs. He was going to be Hannibal Lecter, but he passed on that.
Yeah, I think that went to the right guy, too.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been terrible in that. I could see him do that.
Yeah.
Like I told you, he scares me. I just look at him. I'm scared of him.
A real hard ass.
Known for intense preparation, he often clashed with directors and co-stars over his commitment to realism and authenticity in his work.
He'd rub you the wrong way just to get a reaction out of you on screen.
Yeah. He had a secret passion for painting. That's something a lot of actors like. They like being painters. He's trying to get those paintings sold. He's trying to get those scripts made.
Is it a side hustle, or is it just a way to meditate and relax and focus?
Well, I can't ask him now, Scott.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And lastly, he avoids Hollywood. He has lived a quiet life away from Hollywood in New Mexico, rarely making public appearances or interviews since his retirement. And I remember not too long ago going and looking to see how he looked now. I'm always fascinated by how people look after you haven't heard from him in a long time. And I think I found like one clip of him walking out of a store, and somebody recognized him and filmed him with their iPhone. And he, an old man. He looks exactly like what an old man would look like.
Well, he looks a lot worse now.
Yeah, drippy.
No, mummified.
Mummified, right. Oh, God.
Dry.
We went right back to the dark.
We did. That's what we're known for.
Well, there was another passing.
Yeah, people keep talking about this now. I don't know who this person is.
I know her from, I think, Eurotrip.
I heard she made out with her brother in Eurotrip, and that was the closest I got to having a recollection of this person. This girl's name is Michelle Trachtenberg. Not only do I not know who she is, it was texted to me by Brother Dan that Harriet the Spy died. I don't know who Harriet the Spy is.
Yeah. Dan's a little younger than us. I don't either. But I guess she was on Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which I didn't watch.
People at my work were talking about this girl from Gossip Girl.
Gossip Girl, I didn't watch that.
I didn't watch that either.
But Eurotrip I did watch because I thought it was like an unofficial sequel to Road Trip. And it's one of those movies that's hysterical.
It had that guy from The New Guy, right?
Yeah, I know you're talking about that nerdy guy.
The nerdy, skinny, geeky guy?
Yeah, I think he was in it.
Well, yeah. What happened to him? What's he up to these days?
I think Tom Green was in it for a minute. I think that was one of the movies where Tom Green was like popping in, just trying to.
Or was that Road Trip?
Oh, was it Road Trip? Was Tom Green in Road Trip?
I think we're mixing these two movies up.
Let's just make up movies. Why not?
Sure. Euro Road Trip. We'll just combine the two.
That's the sequel that never got made. The third in the trilogy. But Euro Trip is an hilarious movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to go back and watch that.
It's one of those like junk food movies where I watched it, I laughed, probably immediately forgot about it.
Do they know what she died of? She was 39.
Cirrhosis of the liver. Apparently she was a recipient of a liver transplant, so she may have had some struggles with alcohol.
Yeah, well, I read something passing by my feed that she had some thoughts that maybe this wasn't going well and she might pass away, so.
Eesh. I also heard that there were complications from the liver transplant, but they don't transplant a cirrhotic liver into you, so.
It's kind of like, who's that guy from Crosby, Stills, Nash? It was Crosby, right? Didn't
David Crosby?
Yeah, he got
a transplant.
because he drank his first one away.
Yeah.
And then when they gave him a new one, he kept drinking.
Well, he hit the restart.
He got a free restart. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. I'd be like, I'm never touching this stuff again.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the disease of addiction, man.
Well, yeah, out of the blue, we haven't had celebrity deaths in a while, and then boom.
And she was young.
Yeah.
In her 30s?
39, I think I read.
Yeesh. That's rough, man.
Harriet the Spy.
Harriet the Spy.
No idea what that is.
I don't even know what that's from. Is that a book?
I think it was a show.
It was a show,
Yeah.
so not a movie.
Maybe it was a movie. I don't know. It sounds like something that was probably on Nickelodeon when I was not
I
paying.
was just going to say the same thing. It's completely out of my world.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Oh, well. You want to talk about some other stuff that's not death? I hope you have something because I don't. No, I'm only kidding. I'm kidding. Of course I got something. I want to talk about Kathleen Kennedy.
Oh, you want to talk about how all of Star Wars is going to be saved now because Kathleen Kennedy is going to retire at the end of the year.
I don't know that it's going to be saved.
I don't buy that she's a scapegoat,
Yeah.
and the scapegoat's going away.
Yeah.
I don't think she's the sole person to blame for the problems in a galaxy far, far away.
Ooh, I like that. I like how you did that because I think she's high up there on the list of people to blame.
I think she was there, and a lot of this all happened underneath her watch, and she let it happen, I guess. You could look at it that way. I don't think she's the cause of it. She didn't prevent it, but she didn't create it either.
It is a question that I have. It's like she's the Kevin Feige. Like
Yeah.
Kevin is with the MCU.
Yeah.
Everything goes through her. She greenlights things. She, throws her weight around and says this should be shaped this way, that should be shaped that way. Kevin Feige comes in and knows MCU. He knows Marvel rather inside and out.
Yeah.
So you would assume that when she got this job, right? Because she's had it for 13
And her job
years.
is the creative director of Lucasfilm.
She's president.
She's president of Lucasfilm.
She's
right.
at the top.
Right.
So if you give her the position, you better hope that she really understands what people love about Star Wars.
Yeah.
And the last 13 years have been absolute dog shit. And I look at her and I go, well, you're at the top. You're the one to blame.
Heavy's the head that wears the crown, but everything we've gotten from a lot of things over the past 13 years, story-wise, has been dog shit outside of Star Wars.
She's responsible for you. I know you're done with the Skywalker saga, but I'm still to this day mad about those last 3 Skywalker movies.
Oh, you know that, do you? That I'm done with it. Did I make my point abundantly clear?
Yeah.
My feelings of the Star Wars saga.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
But if these 3 were the last 3 that I was going to get, and this is what we got, like it really does suck. As a fan, as a super fan growing up, like Star Wars was just one of the biggest things in my world. I couldn't wait to see these 3 movies and just to get them, delivered so damn poorly.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you guys, first off, she doesn't seem to have an eye for talent. She doesn't seem to know how to pick the right people to write these stories, to direct these stories, and we end up getting bad stories. The only things that I think that have come out on her watch is The Mandalorian. That came out on her watch, and that was a hit.
That came out. Yeah. Well, Andor. Andor came out on her watch.
But was Andor a hit?
Getting season 2 coming out April.
I think Andor was a slow burn. I think people found it late and were like, this is pretty good.
Rebels happened under her watch, didn't it?
I don't know that Rebels
Or that
did.
may have been before her. You're right.
Maybe. I don't know. Rebels is good.
I liked Rebels.
So not too long ago, they did one of those things that they did in the MCU. They came out and they said, here's all the stuff on our future slate, because basically they wanted to bump up the stock prices. Disney stock wasn't doing so well, so they started to announce all these things. They announced Blade, and they announced Armor Wars, and all sorts of things that they had to take down. Star Wars did the exact same thing. So Kathleen Kennedy comes out there, and she's like, this is all the amazing stuff that we're going to make. I'm going to read some of the things to you.
Okay.
I want to see if you know what these are, because I wasn't even familiar with half of these. But half of these either got made and bombed or just never got made. Star Wars Heir of the Empire.
Heir, H-E-I-R.
H-E-I-R.
Yes, I'm familiar with that.
Star Wars Heir of the Dog.
It's the morning after.
What was Heir of the Empire? And that never got made.
Heir of the Empire, that may have been the story with Starkiller and the Secret Apprentice.
Oh, well, I don't even know that story.
Yeah.
So Mandalorian and Grogu, that hasn't even been made yet, or is being made
That's
right now.
all Dave Filoni.
So that's under her watch. So that whole thing was a hit. There's no denying that.
Here's what I have. Of course, the shit trilogy. And I've said before, I don't care for the sequel trilogy of movies, right? But she did get credited for Rogue One. She got credited for Solo, Star Wars story, I think you just named that one.
No, I didn't, but
Oh,
that's
you
on the
did.
list. Like that was a
That's
turkey.
on there. Book of Boba Fett, that wasn't so great. Obi-Wan series, it was good, but not memorable.
You like that, huh?
I did like the Obi-Wan series, yeah.
I thought it had so much potential. It's one of the rare times you get to see Darth Vader. You know, everybody wants to see more Darth Vader.
Sure.
Yeah,
It was a great fight, too, between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan. The Mandalorian, like you said. Ahsoka, which, another one of those coming out.
yeah.
The Acolyte, which we know how that ended. And that's where it ends.
Skeleton Crew is
today.
her.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Bad Batch.
I like Bad Batch. And Andor.
Something called Star Wars Outlaws.
That's a video
That's
game.
a video game. That did come out.
Yeah.
Supposedly she had something to do with a movie with Sean Levy. Sean Levy was supposed to do a Star Wars movie. He's the guy that just did Deadpool.
He got pulled off, yeah.
Taika Waititi had a Star Wars movie that got teased.
Yeah.
A droid story? What is that?
That's a cartoon that's on Disney Plus.
Did that get made?
Yeah.
I didn't even hear about it.
It's not great.
None of this is great. That's my problem.
Yeah.
Lando, they were going to make a Lando Calrissian spinoff.
Well, that got pulled when the Han Solo story bombed.
And it says here that was actually going to be made with Donald Glover, like producing it. So he was going to star in it and help write it and produce it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then a whole bunch of video games here that I haven't heard of.
But outside, I mean, if you were to sit down and pick the next president of Lucasfilm, and you looked at the other stuff that Kathleen Kennedy was involved with, she did a lot of great movies. She was involved in The Sixth Sense. She was involved in the Jurassic Park franchise. She was involved in Schindler's List. She was involved in... Wasn't she involved in Goonies?
Well, that makes her a good producer.
Right.
Take my money, but it doesn't make her a good emperor of storytelling.
Back to the Future. Gremlins 2.
You know what she did have something to do with? Producing or getting Rogue One out there. Rogue One was great.
That was good.
Yeah, so she's
And that's
got a
basically what Andor came from.
Yeah. Well, she's got a couple wins. I'm not going to say she has none. She's responsible for that last Indiana Jones travesty. She was responsible for that Willow travesty.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's just something when she's making movies, the stories do not seem to reflect what the fans want.
Yeah.
She also tends to, I can't blame her for this, but her movies have all these ancillary characters that they just shove in that really don't stick with anybody. You were talking about that Obi-Wan show.
Yeah.
There's a Sith woman who was running around. Like, nobody needs her. I just want to see Obi-Wan and Darth Vader fight. I think that's all anybody wanted to see. So there's a lot of her stories that have all this extra fluff
Yeah.
that I'm saying her stories like she wrote them, but she's responsible for them.
Greenlit him.
She greenlit them. And, you know, she gave that guy, the one I hate the most is Rian Johnson's Last Jedi.
That was the first of the 3 movies.
She's just like, here's an auteur. Cool. Great. You have an auteur. But this guy doesn't even like Star Wars. He doesn't understand Star Wars. Here you go. Go ahead and make whatever you want, and I'll be okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do have a little bit of anger towards, you know, how, and if somebody fails that many times, you fire them. You get rid of them. Football coaches, if you have one bad season, you're out. You know, this was 13 years. I don't understand how it took so long.
I don't get it, man.
And there was so many rumors for so long, like, oh, this is it. She's getting fired. She's getting pushed out. Everybody hates her. And she just kept staying on.
Yeah.
So it sounds like she's quitting on her own accord at the end of the year.
Yeah. There was some politics going on there, too, where she was getting, you know, she was the face of wokeness of Lucas. And true or not, who the hell knows? But I've heard rumors for years that she was on her way out and she was getting fired and this and that. It never came to be. So when I heard today that, like, oh, Kathleen Kennedy's leaving Lucasfilm, I was like, I'm tired of this story. This is the fucking Goonies 2 story that he won't die. But now she actually announced it, that she's retiring. But it's of her own accord.
Yeah.
And to your point, it's not very often you get to fail that many times and get to leave on your own terms.
Well, what do you think is going to happen now if she's out, right? Great. Star Wars is going to turn around. Well, who's to say that?
I don't think it's going to turn around. I think the same people. Who's going to pick it up?
Right.
Like the 2 big ones that are left are Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau.
Right. Well, Jon Favreau is good.
He's good.
Filoni is hit or miss with me.
Filoni's too tied to the Clone Wars. He has Ahsoka that he created. He has Grogu that he created. Everything is still so focused around the goddamn Skywalker saga that, like, I'm afraid we're going right back to just focusing on the Skywalkers, which might be what you want.
I mean,
I know it's what you want.
It's too late. Harrison Ford is barely able to walk around. You
Yeah.
know, I liked his age when he came back in Force Awakens,
They already killed off Han Solo.
and they're all dead. Yeah, so how do you even
Killed
go
off
back to it
Leia. Yeah, you retcon the whole thing.
and get what different actors or CGI them? Nah, I don't want
know,
that.
man.
Yeah, they blew it.
Peter Cushing's estate still suing Lucasfilm for the misuse of his identity or his image.
Yeah, I wonder how that.
I don't know.
That could still be going on.
Yeah, you mentioned Donald Glover, and I was thinking, whatever happened to his Marvel movie he was going to make with
Oh yeah,
the disco guy? What was
was
his
that
name?
called?
The pimp.
yeah, I forget what that was.
The fuck was his name? Anyway, I digress. Kathleen Kennedy was the known evil, if you want to look at her that way. Now what we're going to get is the unknown, which could be better, could be worse. Who the hell knows?
Could be worse. You're exactly right. Are you looking forward to Ahsoka 2?
I want to see where they continue it because it's going to lead into that Mandalorian and Grogu movie.
I'm kind of done with that too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty done with that Baby Yoda.
I'm less excited than what I was during honestly, between Mandalorian season 2 and Book of Boba Fett, I just don't care about Mandalorian as much as I did.
What could Star Wars do to get you back in?
Make that Coruscant Underworld show.
The one that was supposed to be on TV.
I want to see the mob type style of Star Wars. Yeah, I think having seen what they did with Penguin in the Batman universe, I talked about this a few weeks ago. I think they could have success doing that same type thing in Star Wars.
I tried to watch that Penguin show after I rewatched the Batman and realized, hey, the Batman is a great movie. I got real bored of that Penguin show.
Yeah?
Yeah, I couldn't stick with it.
Well, I think that there's something there.
Yeah, maybe I'll keep watching it. I don't know if they're going to do another one. He's complaining. Colin Farrell.
He's in no hurry to get back in that
he hated
costume.
He hated that makeup he had to do every episode.
Well, he completely transformed himself.
I know. I don't see Colin Farrell in that makeup at all.
Other flops that Kathleen Kennedy's had since Star Wars, she was involved in everything we had. Speaking of Harrison Ford, all the Indiana Jones stuff, that's all through Lucasfilm too.
Yeah.
They were all turd sandwiches.
Yeah, I just get mad because that was it. That was the swing. And instead of putting a lot of great creative people in who really understood what the fans wanted, they just made turd sandwiches.
Yep.
Andor, what did you think of the new trailer?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in watching that.
I think if they go back to doing really good stuff like the original trilogy and has that tone and has that same flavor without being so, I don't know, just off script, which is what a lot of the stuff has been.
I mean, I'm going to watch it, but it does. I mean, the Death Star is there. It's touching right up against everything that already exists. So it does connect in a way I don't want it to. It can't be its own standalone thing. We know how it all ends for them. I mean, they all die on Scarif when the Death Star blows them up.
I know, that's kind of weird.
It's like watching Titanic. You know what I mean?
You know how it
what's
ends.
going to happen? Oh.
Yeah.
He ain't going to pull it out, I can tell you that.
Well, the trailer's it's a rock and roll action
There's
film.
a lot going on, yeah.
The music was kind of weird that they chose.
Yeah, that was weird.
So this will probably be it then. If this is a hit, they're not going to make an Andor 3. They don't have any more space.
Unless they go back further in time, and at that point, who the hell cares?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm ding dong. The witch is dead. I'm so happy that she's gone, but it's like the damage is done. They should have fired her a long time ago.
Yeah.
And saved the franchise, and I'd still be a fan. I miss Star Wars. I didn't want to watch Skeleton Crew because it's not for me. I didn't want to watch Acolyte. Some of the stuff that was for me, I didn't want to watch. I'm watching Boba Fett, and I'm like, this is terrible. This isn't for me either because it sucks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just grumpy about it all. If you can't tell.
Is it going to be different? Sure. Is it going to be better? To be determined.
Is it going to be over?
Maybe.
Did it run its course? Did it have its second life? Is there anything left in the Star Wars tank?
I can say that this second movie trilogy didn't do what they hoped it was going to do. I don't even think that was a second life.
I think Disney Plus was probably the second life.
Well, if you think about it, the second life was really
the
prequel trilogy.
Yeah, good call.
And they were flops when they came out. Nobody wanted to watch fucking political documentary, space politics. Nobody wanted to watch that.
Were they flops?
They weren't great. I mean, there was a lot of fervor about them coming back. I'm like, oh, it's been 25 years since we've had Star Wars. And then they came out and it was just like, oh, Darth Vader's a kid. Oh, Jar Jar Binks. Oh, there was as much complaining back then as what there was for the sequel trilogy.
And now it's sort of beloved. It's got a second life.
Yeah, people love Hayden Christensen. And like for a while there, like he was getting death threats and shit. So yeah, I mean, it's what you grew up with, I guess. Like they came out in 97, 98. But they weren't the original. But the original, when it came out, wasn't supposed to be as big of a deal as it was. It became this phenomenon out of left field, and it happened naturally and organically, and people really like loved it and embraced it. And then I think everything that Lucas tried to do since then, whether it be George Lucas himself or the company he inspired and then sold off to Disney and is now run by Kathleen Kennedy, I think everything they tried to do to get that fandom has all just been artificial and forced and not organic.
That sounds exactly right. Yeah.
You can't force shit like that. It happened at a time. A lot of stuff happened with that, man. It was the timing. It was the politics of the time, the people of the time, other entertainment at the time, what was happening in the news and the world around. It happened organically. And it was expected to fail.
That's how I feel with Gremlins, the next Gremlins coming out, the next Goonies coming out, and all the Ghostbusters coming out. Like this isn't the time for that either.
They're trying to manufacture it. They're trying to force this shit, and you can't force it. And the more you try and force it, and the more fucking fandom you throw out there, and you can get all the greatest actors of the day. All you do is tarnish those actors' images because they can't possibly live up to the thing that organically happened at the time it happened. You can't recapture lightning in a bottle. So you keep going back and you keep trying to hit that same goddamn button to make that same money and have that same reaction, and you don't get it. And I really wish you'd just spend more time writing the next new good movie that we need at this time, not that nostalgia pill you're trying to ram down our throat.
I think I got you fired up.
A little bit. It's just the same thing. It's been on repeat for the past 30 years.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's not working.
Well, I think they now know that. But how are they going to do anything about it? I mean, all these things that have come out that have failed.
I blame writers. I think it's, you know what I mean? Like, what's the last good movie you watched? Nuki?
Dookie. I watched Tammy and the T-Rex.
I've heard of Tammy and the T-Rex.
I was even thinking about talking about that on the show today. That movie, that's a Nuki right there. That's a Wang Wang right there.
Yeah. Wang Wang. Because I even think, long-term, long-running franchises. Like, the one that probably lasted the best, 007.
That just got sold to Amazon.
It did. I know. Barbara Broccoli and the other writer, yeah, they made a lot of bank. They still have some creative control over it, I think. But Amazon owns it.
I heard people are upset by it, but it's like, well, why? I don't know. Is Amazon making bad stuff? I think they're making good stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe that's a good group of people to have something like this.
If they write good stories and they don't just try and cash on nostalgia.
That's it. That's it.
Like, would 007 have been successful if it was just Sean Connery just keep doing it and doing it and they started de-aging Sean Connery so he can keep playing it? No. I think it was great that Daniel Craig took over. I think it was great that Pierce Brosnan took over. I think it was great that they passed the mantle. And if that's what it has to be for Star Wars, so be it. It worked well in that other world. It's been proven that it can work well.
So you're saying if they passed the mantle and basically retold a Luke Skywalker story where it didn't tie back to the other Luke Skywalker stories, because all the James Bond stories are pretty different from each other. And they don't really...
Yeah.
Well, there's some cases where they touch back to other things that have happened in the series.
Occasionally.
So if it was a character-driven, brand new story where they divided some of the connective tissue, would that help you want to get back into Star Wars?
Maybe. The cool thing about James Bond movies, much like Marvel movies, they were always as good as the bad guy. The bad guy really was like the driving force behind a lot of those 007 things. Like Goldfinger was great. And, even Rami Malek in one of the newer ones, he was a great bad guy.
I don't watch the new ones, and there's no reason I don't. I just haven't gotten around to them yet. They don't stand out as much as like the 80s and 90s versions do.
Like Odd Job and Jaws.
Yeah.
Like those guys were great.
They seemed a little campier back in the day. Now they seem more serious.
Even the henchman, the voodoo, what was his name? The voodoo doctor?
I don't remember the name.
Yeah.
Jaws.
Yeah.
I like all that old stuff.
was good, and it lasted, and it changed, and it was different, but they were good.
Yeah, it'd be so weird if they rebooted Luke Skywalker, they rebooted Han Solo and all that. It would be so weird, but that's probably the only shot they got at keeping this whole legacy alive.
Yeah.
Huh.
I think so.
Well, I'm not up for the job, but
No.
I'm not up for her replacing
I'm not throwing my hat in the ring.
Yeah, that's something I don't want. That's too scary.
Speaking of voodoo doctors, we got to get you down to New Orleans.
That's right. It is time to wrap it up today, guys.
All right. Well, a little bit of a throwback to old format here, but hope you enjoyed listening. Tell a friend. We'll talk to you again next week. See you then.